here we are at our second morning meeting of our May Campout in Greenwater. Yay. And it's been a pretty cool couple of days. We had some awesome activity around camp last night. And we're going to start here with Nancy. Anything?
Nothing. I went down and checked my gifting area this morning, and the mice had been there. The nuts were all gone, and they left little telltale signs that they had been there, but nothing else. So I was quiet.
Okay, Kelly.
I have nothing to report.
Nothing?
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing for me either.
Okay.
Nothing except for I also checked my gifting area, and little mice had been there.
Okay.
But I had it covered so they couldn't get me.
All right, Sandy, we got something to hear from you.
Yes, well, yes, we had a great morning this morning, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah, so I got up, it was light out already. When I woke up, what I woke up to was the sound of some ravens just screeching, and something right behind my tent at my head just took off like a shot, and it actually hit the tent. And then the tree right next to it, the bushes, they were swaying. I looked up and they were just swaying on the side of the tent, hitting the tent. And then the ravens got quiet and it was stone silence again. Then Gabby, a little bit later, Gabby came up and was running around my tent. So I unzipped it and she came in. And then I went ahead and got dressed. And I thought, okay, Gabby, let's go take a little walk, because nobody else was up. Patrick was sleeping by the non-existent fire at that point. So we walked up the road here. Nobody was stirring, and I saw Nancy down by her motorhome. So I thought, come on, Gabby, let's go say hi to Nancy. So we went on down there, and she thinks that was about 6:15-ish?
Yes, about between 6:15 and 6:30, I would say, yeah.
So we visited for a few minutes, walked down to the little cedar gift, came right back. It didn't take more than maybe 5 minutes, didn't linger. Came back up the road and I saw Debbie. She was going back to her tent. And so I wasn't sure what she was about. So I didn't go down there. I went ahead and came on by, and then I suddenly heard someone behind me and I turned around, it was her. So I waited and we walked up here together. And then we were standing here. Had we built the fire yet?
Yes.
We had built the fire.
Yes.
So we started building a fire then before even we got the coffee on.
Right.
Gabby barked once, and she was looking that way. But I saw movement up here, and so what I saw was a dark figure from head to toe, and it walked from behind Pat's truck towards Rob's bus, and so I saw it walking, just nonchalantly walking on two legs, and then it disappeared behind Rob's bus. So when she barked and she was looking that way, and I said, well, there's Pat. I said, Pat, going behind the bus.
Right, and so I didn't even look over there.
Yeah, and you said, well, but she barked that way.
Yeah.
And I said, well, So I just didn't think too much more about it, but the figure was completely black, dark from head to toe. And it wasn't walking fast, it was just strolling. And it disappeared because his bus is at an angle. So once it disappeared, because we were right here at the fire pit, it was out of sight. So I don't know if it went up the hill or over the little mounds. So I thought that I didn't really start putting it all together until I saw Patricia and Penny starting getting up and coming this way, and they didn't have dark clothes on. And I'm like, wait a minute. So then I started asking them what they wore to bed, what sexy garb they had on last night.
As you see me.
Yeah.
Black, not dark clothing.
Like, did you guys have dark clothes on? Did you have black? And they were like, no, it wasn't us. They were tucked in their bed.
Yeah, they were sleeping. We didn't get up till 8:15.
Right.
It wasn't me. I didn't get up and wear anything dark.
I had come down, about 7 or 7:30, and Gabby remember she barked, but she was looking off over there, and she had a look of concern on her face. She knew something was out there. And I didn't hear anything, but she really was alerting to something off in the woods. So maybe what had come up, maybe it had come back down over this way. back in the woods over here a little bit.
Yeah, well,
I
she
think
she
she
was a
saw
little
something.
nervous last night.
Yeah.
'Cause, you know, she had gone over. She was following you to the kitchen area, and she got over there and she looked that way toward your tent, and she did kind of like a hop, bounce, bark. She's at something,
Yeah.
and it had her nervous enough that 20 minutes later a blue jay flew over there, and she freaked out over the blue jay. So
Peter
she
had
was
a good-
nervous already.
Good point, because the individual was not real tall. I'm going to say from where we were standing here, it was not higher than the windows on the bus. So it was a short individual. I mean,
5'8" or 5.
Well,
Seven.
See the bottom of the window, or
Yeah, it was the top of the head would have been below your window.
Oh, that'd be a
Just
stupid.
so a little juvenile.
And then
I
you said you
thought it
found
was-
tracks.
Yeah, we found some prints over there, but it was a slenderish build, so that's why I thought it was either one of you. But what came out was Patricia. Yeah, but it didn't have blonde hair either. And there was no ponytail.
When you
So
went around the bus, was the bird and the apple still in that room?
yes, there is a little container with
Oh,
a
I
little
put
fruit.
a little thing behind the bus with a little bird that Nancy put in the truck at the last campout, and apple and some carrots, and I guess it's still there. So
Okay.
Yeah, so the only thing I could relate was because I thought, well, maybe it was you going up and checking on your gifts or something. But that's the only thing I related it to at the moment. But
There's nothing
it was
there.
on two legs, definitely, and it just was walking along. And when it wasn't startled by Gabby at all.
Huh?
It wasn't like on a run or anything. It
Just strolling along.
Just shuffled.
Cool. Okay. Did you hear anything?
nothing, dead to the world.
Nope. Nothing. No experiences whatsoever. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Happens every campout.
Ah, you'll get your turn.
Right by your bus.
Debbie?
Yeah, I
Well,
my bus. He took the bus.
nothing last night, but when we were yesterday behind your cabin and we went up to the bridge, we were all standing there and heard some vocalization.
Oh,
Yeah.
that glyph I found.
Yeah,
Yes, you
right.
found an interesting glyph. You can send a picture of that. We'll share it.
Yep.
Okay. And yeah, when we had gone up, we were on the bridge and we heard a yell, and then it was kind of a oh, and then there was like a oh,
Well, I
a
went
few
up
seconds
I
later.
went up the hill because you guys stayed at the bridge. I went up and around, and I actually was trying to talk to him. Said, "Hey, I'm here. Please, I'd love to see you. All this kind of, stuff that you do." And I waited around to see if I seen any movements. Nothing. Then I went down showing you the glyph. That's when you guys heard the vocalization. So me and Nancy went back up there and looked around again and didn't see anything. So.
Yeah.
And what was interesting about that glyph was that there were three sticks in a parallel to one another, and one had obviously been in the road because there was an impression of where that one stick had been, and it had been actually it picked up and moved, and
put
you could
into
see.
the glyph, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, added to it.
So
Yeah.
I guess I did.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
Okay. So Sam, you were up there a few minutes before we got up the trail yesterday, and you said you heard something up there before we
It
arrived.
just seems like when I'm alone, in my mind's are stomping around. And are stomping. Am I loud enough? Then?
You're
Okay.
getting there.
All right. So I had already gone up there to our what I call the Field of Dreams area, and was sitting for quite a while, probably at least a half an hour. And during that particular time, there were a couple of knocks. Okay, I call them basically like what we hear with the trees. It's not really a knock. It's so much as a kind of a cross between a clack and a rock and a knock. So it's what the trees do. So you hear it really loud, and then it goes from here to there. But I also heard some vocalizations, like woo, and there were a couple others, like almost like children cry a little bit. So I heard a couple of those going on, and then the group came up, and of course we went up to the bridge and hung out up there, and of course nothing in particular went on at that point. And then as we're coming down, I decided to come down by myself, and within the space of a few minutes before some others came down. And while I was down there alone, sure enough, it says a really loud knock clack from one tree, but the wind wasn't blowing, so it's really loud. What's so unusual about it is that when it happens over here, and all of a sudden there's a response clack over here. So clack, clack, like that. And so there were a couple of really loud ones like that. And then when you know, who was it walked
Well,
up?
actually, think about it. There were 2 of us walking down.
Yeah.
There were 2 of us. Maybe they were telling you there were more people coming because.
Well,
it was
it's
me and
possible.
David.
Yeah, like a warning. Well, I already knew you guys were coming down, but yeah, but the minute you got there, then it stopped.
Right, it stopped.
So it only happened while I was by myself, and that kind of communication took place only while I was there alone. So, but then again, they know me.
Yes.
Wow.
It makes
And
a
they
big
like
difference. Like the resident friend or whatever, because
They're
you know,
familiar with you in that
very
spot.
familiar. Yeah.
Right on. Cool. Did you hear anything last night? Any experiences here in
No,
camp?
as far as here, it's just quiet as usual
Okay.
for me.
All right. Penny?
Didn't hear anything from the tent while we were sleeping or anything. We went out for a night walk last night, just before dark. And we went down to the 4-way by our friend Debbie's gifting site and sat our chairs around so that we could see 360. Nothing, no sounds, no. We saw some pinpricks, might have been eye shine, white and red, but just way off, and who knows if that was
Okay.
truly eye shine. But no sounds, no activity, no responses, and we did a lot of things to try and elicit response or bring them in. We had these Darth Vader swords that I got at Kmart, and they go with flashing lights, and they were playing recorders, harmonicas, nothing.
Wasn't enough, huh?
Didn't
Okay.
allure them.
Okay, Courtney, I think you have something to share with us.
At some point in the middle of the night, if I had to guess, it would be about 3 o'clock. I kept hearing my cooler open, and I thought it was mine, but then I kept hearing all these cooler lids.
Right over.
My cooler lids. My head's
finger right there.
right at the back of the trailer. And I got up, and I opened the door, and I came out and looked, because I thought maybe someone was getting something to eat or getting something to drink. Oh, getting something to drink. And I didn't see anything, and it continued.
Well,
After you went back inside, it
Yes.
continued.
something was
dunking
messing
and-
Yeah.
with the coolers.
Wow.
Now, that's another thing I'd like to point out is this is our kitchen area over here, and we have some snacks and, you know, the creamers and things, the stoves that I'm sure have plenty of food scent on them, and none of this has ever been bothered. Nothing. We've never even had mouse turds on the tables, let alone anything getting into it. Bear
That'd be
apocalypse.
That is going to result in a bear apocalypse someday. You guys don't understand how dangerous that is.
Get him, Patrick. Get him, Patrick.
Cookies out there for it.
Yeah.
They never touch.
And all these
Okay.
Bear
all these very, very distinguished ladies, you're so brave with those gifting sites. You have backbones like of steel. It is
Little
amazing.
gray-haired ladies.
Well, I don't want to.
Gray-haired ladies.
Okay, so we do have one more thing here from yesterday. You guys were talking about your recorder that had vanished.
Right.
Now, why don't you tell us about the next chapter with your recorder?
Well, Penny and I decided to do some more investigating yesterday to find that recorder because people say sometimes they're like 100-foot radius around where it disappeared. So we climbed up that pretty steep mountain yesterday, and she went up higher than I did. And we were looking all around. I even went back to where it disappeared, and I'm digging in the moss and the dirt. Couldn't find it. So I went down below, and I was looking down in the brush, thinking maybe they tossed it from the mountain down into the gully down there. Couldn't find it, so I was getting discouraged. I was walking over to my truck, and Penny says, "Pat, I found it." I said, "No, you didn't." You know, I thought she was teasing. "No, I got it right here." So I went back there and looked, and sure enough, on the other side of the trail towards the woods, by a little brushy area, the recorder was there in a plastic bag, like I left it in a plastic bag. It's
Rainwater
wet.
on
Yeah,
it.
rainwater on top. Looked like it had been there for a while. Turned it on, and it's still working, and there's 7 hours on it.
Wow.
And it wasn't broken. And we're theorizing they either found it up on the mountain and pitched it across that way, or maybe came down the hill, walked by the woods, and just dropped it. I don't
Or
know.
it could be they placed it in a place they knew you would eventually find it,
Could be.
and that you will know that, okay, we know what you did.
Right, right. So,
Here
you
you
know.
have it back.
Kind of
We're
like
not going to hold it against you. Could be.
And we still don't know what's on it.
Yeah,
But,
okay.
the good news, it wasn't broken. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that's
monitored
awesome.
the first, I want to say 20 minutes of it.
Right.
Didn't detect any crinkle of plastic where something had reached in under the moss and pulled it out. Then we listened to like the last 20 minutes because
Yeah.
7 hours and 49 minutes is too long to
Yeah.
review campsite. So her son Tristan will put it on his laptop and put it on Audacity, and we're
Okay.
going to look for the waveform where there's sound in that time period and try and pinpoint exactly when they located it and either chucked it football style or carried it while it's running, and we could
Okay.
be hearing the traveling of foot, as it's going down that path.
Did
where
you
we
hear
found
the last part of it?
Yes, we did hear the last 15 minutes. We did hear some loud wood knocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
and-
know those were wood knocks. They weren't firearms because it would be a ka-whap out of the park knock and then a different distance.
Yeah.
Distant
From what I heard, there were only two.
Yes.
One was very close, big and loud, and several seconds later there's a second one, but from another location farther away.
And we thought if it were firearms, we would hear multiple shots. If somebody was trying to sight in their rifle or their weapon or whatever, you would hear a few more shots over a period of several minutes. Didn't hear that. It was just two good whaps at two different
Okay.
locations, and pretty cool.
Very
Really.
cool. Okay, so Patrick, anything happened for you last night?
No, I didn't get back to camp till about 1:30, and I pretty much just grabbed my cot by the fire and passed out. So
Okay. Last night, when most of the group went and had their night sit, I was one of the few that stayed behind. Very tired. Sandy had gone to bed. Debbie went down. She was in her tent. Sam was here at the fire pit when I went to my tent, and I think that's all that was here.
I was
no,
here.
Kelly
I
was. Oh, you
yeah,
guys
I
were
walked
here.
down the
Yeah.
road with you. Yeah.
Okay, so we basically all went to bed early. But everybody else was gone except Sam was sitting here. So I go down to my tent and I'm all cozy in my sleeping bag on my cot, my blankie. Gabby's on her bed sleeping. And I'm going through yesterday's footage on the camera. And first I picked up a very nasty scent came through my nose. It was not as bad as some scents, but not pleasant at all. And I took a second whiff going, trying to zero in on it, but it was gone. There was nothing there. And I'm kind of looking over at my boots thinking, nah, there'd be a pretty permanent stink in here if it was coming from my boots. So then I didn't think much more about it. I continued looking at yesterday's footage in the camera. And then within a few minutes of the smell from one side of my tent, one corner of the wall right beside me, inches from me, on the rain fly on the outside, something went like across, and I could hear it and feel it, and from one side to the other right beside me there. And at that point I got a little giggly, and I was pretty happy, and I turned off what I was watching, and I turned on the recorder, and I made a little clip about it. And in the clip I said, well, now I'm going to play my flute for a few minutes and see what happens. So I turned the camera back off, set it down, picked up my flute. I played like 3 notes, and something right off the corner of my the tent just jumped. You hear the thud on the ground, and something just took off. It was just thud gone, and that was pretty cool.
So you
Flute playing was that bad?
I startled it with the flute, yes. And then I thought, okay, well, I turned the camera back on and went, oh my gosh, this just happened now. I'm so sorry I didn't leave the camera on, but so then I left the camera on and I continued playing my song. Nothing else happened, and within a few minutes I heard a vehicle come up. I wasn't sure if it was one of our group or not, but after that I didn't hear anything else, and I think I went to sleep pretty soon. But still, I was pretty excited about that. And then to wake up this morning and hear about Sandy's experience and hear about what Courtney was hearing right over here. I think it's things are just.
We had visitors.
We had visitors, and I'm just about as tickled as I could be about this. So, okay, fingers crossed on another very adventurous day and amazing night with all kinds of activity for everybody. Particularly Rob, we would love it if Rob could have a really awesome experience. He deserves it so much.
Yes, we'd like for
It
it to
went right
walk
by
in
your
the
bed.
bus.
Well, I
Is
got
that close?
a 26,000-pound tent, and I'm not going to hear it. unless it pounds.
Okay, please pound on the bus tonight.
I'll let you in. We'll do shots or something. Okay.
That bus.
I didn't bring any cigars, but we can do shots.
Okay, I don't know about that. We get intoxicated Sasquatch might not be a good thing.
Explain it to the wife. No, really, it was a squatch.
All right, well, I guess that wraps up our second morning meeting of our May campout. And fingers crossed on a great day. Can't wait to see what's going to happen next. Yay!